Good evening. It's still Monday night. I can't see the clock. I just got out of the bath and I'm doing the greenhouse thing. I was this morning though. I was listening to the news, and there were some shootings over the weekend, and both had held 2 children, one 15 and one 7. Both of them shot. Seems sort of strange that the violence here is escalated. We've had a lot of shootings. I don't know, and a lot of fights too. They showed another thing where this guy was at a convenience store and he was getting beat up, and the best they could do in the convenience store is to lock him out, you know. So, but the children just went wild. So, and I think that sometimes that if you, I hate to say it, if you know, it's very permanent here. Not permanent. It's everybody seems to think that it's okay to whoop your children, and like everybody's like, oh, we need to find a solution for the violence, for these children's aggressive negative behavior. But I don't think you have to look farther than the home, unfortunately. If you whoop your kids, it's a proven fact. You can look at any child behavior book or online, and you will see that violence begets violence at a very young age. If you're hitting them, this is what they know, this is what they learn. And I see it around here a lot of times. You know, people are very sensitive. And one thing I notice, it seems like they continue the behavior of violence to the I was listening to this someone lecture in Stanford by I want to say Sofsky, but he was going on about this field trip that he had been on. I think it was in Brazil, where he worked down there with some primates, and they watched the males get real aggressive, and he said he couldn't stand them. They were fighting, they were real nasty. Well, anyway, something happened with the male, they were baboons. Something happened with the male baboons where the ones that were real aggressive, and they were eating and bullying, they would eat everything, bully the other ones, and it wouldn't matter, like, if this one baboon worked all day long to get to, like, his food, they would come along and take it. Well, anyway, some trash that had been piled up by some people that had tuberculosis, these monkeys got to it, and they ate it and they died, and the only one that was left was the more mild-mannered or lower class, not the hierarchy of the baboons, and the females. And once the females took over, it became a very calm, no more aggression, no more hostility. And now I'm not saying that because of our society. Well, yes, I am. I am saying that it has a lot to do with the way that our children are brought up. Has a lot to do with their environment, and their early learning years. If they're exposed to violence, then it begets violence. And lots of times, in our society, we do have a war society, and like, I guess, like in earlier times, we probably would have drafted them, like in the 60s, we would draft half of the guys, they would have went away at war, and we wouldn't notice this problem. But I think it is a problem that could be solved in one generation. It really can. And I think it could be solved by stop whooping your kids. I really do. I think that if we think more about how the child in the future will it be able to be an asset to you in your later years, or just be able to function without having to worry about all the time getting hit. I think if we think about like how we feel or when we get hit, or how we feel like when we get paid, and then maybe think that is this really teaching your kid anything? Are they really learning, or are they getting better grades in school by whooping, or would they get better grades in school by finding other ways? And I know everybody's like, oh, well, how do you discipline? How do you control them? Children are very adaptable and very have a very strong survival mechanism, where I've always found them left at their own device, that they're very helpful and always willing to please their parents or their guardian in such a way to show off when they learn something, or how clever they can be. I think if we stifle their cleverness and their imagination by the whooping, by the bullying and chastising, and that's another thing. I think that people that are bullied learn that at home too. But anyway, I see that we'll probably have more violence before we don't. I don't know if there's any outside help or outside organization that could help somebody that. There used to be a saying on Bugs Bunny. I always thought that people that followed it end up, like, if you can't beat them, join them. And that, to me, seems like what happened with people that whoop their kids. It's like, oh well, oh well, everybody does it, so I should do it too, or my mom did it to me, so I should do it too, regardless of how much pain or suffering that it caused you. Because like I see these kids, like it's sad, because it took one generation to really get things on the wrong track. So it only takes one generation to get it back on the right track. And I think that we don't need a mentor from outside. I think that you could be the mentor for your child, and that doesn't mean that you have to lose your freedom of speech, be careful what you're saying, but like maybe a good way to help them recognize numbers or something is to play cards. You don't have to play littles. You can use the cards you have. Go fish or war or something, even spades. All these checkers. You can have a good time with your kids cooking more at home. If you're diabetes and you need to have a special food fix for you, so you can't go out and eat as much because it might not be the right type of food for you. But preparing food maybe in the house, they learn how to make oatmeal, or they learn how to scramble an egg, or what I'm saying, these things could benefit you too. But anyway, I think that the number one reason why we have violence, especially here in Memphis, is because we choose to teach violence to our kids at a very young age by whooping them, and by calling them bad, referring to just negative, and there's always like no. And I think that if you want to see positive stuff from kids, you got to put it in them. Sit down and draw. Sit down, listen to music. Go on nature walks, or of course if you don't want to do exercise, there's a lot of activities you could do together. Watch sports together. anyway, there's a lot, and when it comes to way of discipline, I don't really know why so many people have such a big problem with disciplining. I think a lot of times that you know, if you take the time to give the kids information and to teach them, that you find that that a smarter, clever kid you will have, and you'll have less problems, you know, because you will be able to talk to them, you will be able to explain to them, and a lot of times you explain to them too. You know, if you don't have a goal or a purpose in mind for this child's future, and you know, or you're just gonna yell at them, oh, you know, and punish them. Oh, that was another thing with that, with that study with that guy in Stanford. What happens was the ones that were higher up males in the society, what they would do is, like, sometimes they would just, you know, like, have a fight with another male, and the one that would lose would just go over and hit a female, and then the female would in turn, like, hit the child. You know, and that was a pattern that was seen over and over again. So, and I see that pattern with humans. You know, well, actually, he does talk on human behavior, but they study period. And but I see that in human behavior. You know, you know, like. Especially, like, I see this one lady, she was like, oh, wait till your father gets home. He gonna do this, he gonna do this, he gonna beat you. He had no clue what was going on. You know, she had time enough to nip it in the butt, and that'll be, you know, that'll be the end. But she was, like, intentionally thinking, I'm just making him worry. You know, the kids act, you know, then the kids just acting all spooked and whatnot. So when the father gets home, he hits her, and then, like, later on that evening, I guess he gets aggravated, and I guess he hits the wife. She turns around and hits the kid, and I guess, you know, a wall trains him and like puts a hole in the drywall. So anyway, they had an issue. I think her sister ended up taking that child. So, but anyway, it does happen. Whooping does cause a chain reaction, to where they would even, like, you know, emulate their parents at school with their brothers and sisters, sports events, and it continues on to adolescence and beyond. And it's one thing, I think, in society that we can nip in the bud and we can change. I think it'd be a lot easier to give your kid information than trying to, every time you come home, you got to beat them. I mean, whoop them. Anyway, and I'm so sorry for those children. I send my condolences to the parents. Maybe somebody could see the reality of the situation that we create for ourselves by our own behavior, and the excuses and pointing fingers to other people for our solutions to the problems that we end up creating, just cause it like a revolving door where you continue doing the same behavior. So that's something to think about. If you don't like the violence, don't be violent. You know, don't teach it to your children.